This video was recorded at Disney World at All-Star Music. It's the last thing I did before I went home.
Alright guys, I know there's been a lot of rumors flying around. Just wanted to check in, see if you have any questions for me.
Why are the Asian girls drawing pictures of us?
Hi, I'm Kitty. I have to tell you something. Catherine, I'm about to do the video. Kitty, if you do the Craig voice, I'm gonna hit you like a lousy housewife. You know you can't do crazy voices for videos. Nobody likes them. And if you do, somebody is gonna put a big lowercase t on your front lawn. Okay then, no crazy voices, I understand. Hi, I'm Kitty Monk, and I'm here to talk to you about South Park. Or more specifically, the pairing of Tweek and Craig. Tweek X Craig. All ships have names, and we call this one Creek. What? I didn't make the rules, but out of all the ship names I hear, I think it's like the cutest. Now, South Park is a show that many people grew up with, in some way, shape, or form. Even if you haven't seen every episode, I'm sure you've seen something. Be it the movie, or a clip on TikTok, or a rerun. But something I didn't realize until I started going to conventions was just how big of a fan base South Park has. Like, a lot of my South Park themed panels they fill out the whole room. I remember back in October when I was at DerpyCon, I did a South Park trivia panel, and I thought I'd be lucky to get one person, but 20 showed up, and it was an 18+ night panel. Sure, maybe the fandom is not as vocal or explosive as Hazbin Hotel or SU, but it's still pretty numerous. And while I have my problem with the South Park fandom, because if you complain in any way, shape, or form, you're wrong and a PC baby, I do love being in it, and I have made many connections and friends by being a fan. One of the best and worst parts of being in a fandom is shipping, which is where you pair up characters you think would fit best together as couples. And because South Park is quite numerous in terms of characters, it's not free of shipping. Honestly, it probably gets like as much as Star Vs, which is weird because most of these characters are like 9 years old, but I digress. One of the weirdest ships in the fandom that eventually became canon was Tweek X Craig, or Creek, but it was what you'd call a crack ship, where it doesn't really make sense, but hey, it's still fun to joke about. But while Tweek and Craig became prominent in their shipping episode, people forget they had their own episode years and years prior in season 3, presenting Tweek vs. Craig, the last episode to air before the South Park movie. And if that movie did awful, it would have been the last episode ever. So let's discuss. The boys are taking shop class, which I hate. I never got to do that, or home ec, my urban public school standardized testing behind. While the boys are taking shop, the girls plus Kenny are taking home ec, which rather than teach them actual life skills like sewing or pattern making or cooking or cleaning, they learn how to be housewives or how to nab a husband.
That's right, Wendy. You see, some of you girls will go on to have interesting jobs and careers, but all of you pretty ones won't have to worry about that because you can marry a nice man.
Guess they're gonna have to learn all of those skills in college when they have to dorm, like I did. But I wouldn't mind taking this class. I mean, it taught me about credit cards.
If he has more than 4 credit cards, that's a little fishy. The perfect number of credit cards for a man to have is 2.
If you ever go to my South Park trivia panel, this is one of my questions. Mr. Adler is their teacher, and he gives a grand orientation speech.
You are here because you are America's future. Most of you, however, will be pumping gas or cutting sheet metal, and that's why we have shop class.
But in Jersey, we don't pump our own gas. I never got to until last summer when I went to Boston. In Jersey, we're spoiled like goods. But the most important part about his lecture is to quit screwing around.
Now let me make one thing crystal clear. I don't like kids that screw around. You screw around in shop class, you can lose a hand or an eye.
Quit screwing around. Shop is dangerous. Did you not see that episode of Beavis and Butthead? After finishing his speech, Mr. Adler wants to know who the biggest troublemaker is. Cough, cough, Cartman.
Tweek is. No, I'm not. Yeah, you are, Tweek. You always get in trouble.
Tweek? But he's such a sweetie coffee bean cinnamon roll. Like Puddin', you know that dog from Instagram by Jolly Josh? But Cartman counters.
Excuse me, but Craig is the biggest troublemaker in our class.
That true, Craig? You a troublemaker?
No.
You know, I feel like he has a point. Early on, Craig was known for his running gag of always flipping people off, which constantly got him sent to the principal or Mr. Mackey. Heck, he and his whole family even do it later on. Wow, a whole family has something in common besides flaws and fleas. That makes me so happy. Ow! Come on, it was just a one-time joke. I wasn't gonna do it the whole video. I am not taking chances. Plus, he also does it to Mr. Adler in the same scene.
Well, you better not be, because in shop class... Hey, did you just flip me off?
No.
Yes, you did.
Told ya.
The boys quickly find shop class boring as hell, because Hank Hill is not their teacher, and they do what all kids do when they hate class: spread vicious rumors or start a weird game, or a game based on those vicious rumors. They can't decide whether you should live or die, or who is the bigger troublemaker, Tweek or Craig.
No, you guys are totally wrong about Tweek. Craig is way worse than he is. No, he's not, dude. Craig is a wuss. Dude, if Craig and Tweek got in a fight, Craig would kick Tweek's ass.
So Cartman decides to up the ante.
You want to bet? Yeah, I'll bet. How much? $5. You're on.
Wow, a whole $5. You could buy a small fries at McDonald's with that. The boys tell Tweek that Craig wants to fight him in order to rile him up, and they tell Craig that Tweek wants to fight him to rile him up. Tweek has his doubts.
Dude, Craig chooses you. He wants to fight. He does? Yeah, he's all pissed off at you, so will you fight him? Why? Dude, because you have to stand up for yourself. So will you fight him? He doesn't look like he wants to fight me.
No, what's hilarious is with these guys, they're children, and because of that, they automatically take these stories at face value, without any hint of critical thinking. It's not until you get older that you realize half of what kids say is either exaggerated to hell and back, or taken completely out of context. Or you look back and you're like, oh, remember when? And then you hear, actually, that's not how it really happened. What I find ironic is that all of this could have been solved if he just talked to Craig. Like, dude, what's this about you wanting to beat me up? After all, they still know each other. After all, they're still friends, or they at least know of each other. See, I said it in a normal voice. Mwahaha. But unlike most examples, I guess it just works here. I think it helps because, hey, it's funny. But unlike most examples, where honestly the whole thing could be solved with a talk, I don't mind. Again, they're kids and it's just funny.
Why would he say that? I don't know, Craig. I don't know. But now he's over there telling everybody that you're a poop eater and he chooses you. Well, I've got to go over there. No, Craig. You can't fight him here. Mr. Adler would just break it up.
True, very true. Plus, the episode just started. You gotta build up that momentum. The boys leave, happy that they were able to turn two boys who barely know each other against each other. Because it's better than shop class. Anything is better than shop class. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. A big theme with Tweek and Craig, unfortunately, is that almost all of the decisions involving these two often involve manipulating them into being pawns. Like here, how they get manipulated into hating each other and starting a fight just because the kids around them are bored. And this becomes a problem down the line, which has led many fans to wonder, is what they're presenting problematic? Or is it like Stolas and Blitz, where in a way, that's kind of the whole point? Well, we'll get there when we get there. The boys now decide that the winner of the fight will get $10 whole. That's like 2 medium fries. And by winner, I mean either Stan or Cartman. That's stupid. They're being forced to fight and they get like nothing in return. The boys announce the news only to learn.
It's funny because Tweek and Craig both went home about 15 minutes ago. What? Yeah, they left. Aw, hell!
Well, they can't hang out here all night. They got lives, but not like me or Puss in Boots. Rather than just let it go, the boys decide.
I guess they don't want to fight. They want to fight. They just don't know it yet.
Yeah, that sounds creepy as hell. So they track down Tweek and Craig at their respective homes and rile them up and train them. Like when Tweek brings up he doesn't really mind Craig all that much, so they feed him more lies. And worse yet, they prey on his appearance.
Yeah, he was standing there waiting for you and he was all like, man, Tweek's a wuss. And we were all like, no, he's not, Craig. And he was all like, yeah, he is. He isn't showing up. He's a big wuss and he has crooked teeth. I don't have crooked teeth.
I mean, I did, and then I got braces. But then I kept grinding my teeth more than usual, and now they look like piano keys. But I want to eat chicken fingers again without choking, so no braces for Kitty. As for Craig, well, kinda like Tweak, he doesn't want to fight them. And to be fair, the fight is the next day. He could just sit at home and do nothing until then.
Red Racer's on. Craig, you can watch Red Racer any day of the week. I do watch Red Racer every day of the week. Well, that's fair. I guess you don't care about what Tweak said about your mom.
So Cartman just acts like Cartman. But whereas Stan and Kyle use Tweak's loving mother to aggravate him, Cartman uses another person Craig cares about. Well, person is the wrong word. It's his pet gerbil.
Tweak said about your guinea pig. What? What did he say about Stripe? Oh, nothing, except that you stick it up your
Fish.
before you go to bed. That son of a
Fish.
Weird to think the gerbil idea eventually came back with the startling and the fractured butthole. And that makes me so... And that is a great reference, what am I saying? But when you get bullied, your first instinct should be to tell your parents, or at least a trusted adult. Just saying, as somebody who was bullied at times, that did help me, because it allowed me to realize whether or not it was bullying, and what to do about it. And I was told, because your parents unfortunately are not always going to fight your battles for you, it was okay to defend myself, or talk back. And it wasn't stooping down to their level, god damn it, Debbie. So Tweak tells his parents, Richard and Peggy. Yes, I know we still don't know his mom's real name. I just call her Peggy or Vera in my head because it's easier. But Peggy is easier to say in a script, so I typically stick with that. Richard says that in order to deal with a bully, you should treat it like a black eye, as in just ignore it and it'll go away. It worked for him when he wanted to date Peggy, and a football player bullied him for it.
What happened?
Oh, I don't know. He moved away or something.
Yes, I think that's right.
Lucky. But to be fair, I guess since I try to espouse life lessons, in this instance, Tweak should have just talked to Craig. I know I said the same thing about Craig, but it goes both ways. Just saying, I hate when anti-bullying episodes use these blanket lessons, like always tell an adult, or always do this, or always do that. Because dealing with bullies is a complicated issue, and there's no straightforward answer. What might work for one bully won't work for the other. And sometimes the conventional wisdom, like just tell an adult, doesn't work because it makes the bully angry you fought back, and it could make the abuse worse. I guess I should just tell you guys to watch Butterballs, because that episode is based on bullying, and I like what they say about it. But I also kind of feel in a way Tweak vs. Craig addresses bullying, as in how kids would actually react to being bullied.
You guys never help me! Your stories never go anywhere!
Wow, when I thought Butters had a crappy family. This poor kid. As for Craig, well, he doesn't get very far. He just tells his parents he got into a fight and it leads into an argument. Which, if we use the whole satire bullying angle, I think it helps to show how parents themselves also react with bullying, as in not always being on the same page, which unfortunately did happen to me a few times. Like how Craig's father, Thomas, just tells him, oh, I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm trying to eat dinner, son. Or, sorry, but kids will be kids. Well, Craig's mom, Laura, is actually concerned and angry that her husband won't do more to help.
Oh.
Don't just owe him, Thomas! Yeah, don't just owe me!
I'll owe whoever I want.
The fight is promoted to heck and back, since South Park hasn't seen real wrestling since Jesus fought Satan, and like before, the boys are just using Tweak and Craig for their own ends.
How long do you expect the fight to last? However long Craig wants it to last. Make no mistake, Craig has been ready for this fight since day one. He doesn't even view it as a challenge.
Like, guys, if you want to fight so bad, do it yourselves. Cartman would probably lose, though, even if he did beat up that little person. The fight is beginning, and nothing happens.
Yeah, if you're gonna do it! What do we do? Huh? What do you mean, what do you do? You just fight each other. How? How? I've never been in a fight before. Me neither!
Don't know how to fight? Don't know how to fight? Don't you guys watch TV? Craig, I know you do. So they gotta postpone the fight while the pair get fighting lessons. Really? They can't just stage everything like WWE? Stan and Kyle go to Jimbo to teach Tweak how to fight, while Cartman does... Okay, Cartman deserves extra credit. he teaches Craig how to be a sumo wrestler.
You must learn discipline and respect. In sumo, your body must be like a stone, and your mind like a meatloaf.
Meatloaf?
Even if Craig doesn't need a discipline, because he doesn't lack it, and he's probably the most disciplined kid in school, period. Seriously, don't any of these guys know the ancient, tried and true technique of kicking your opponent in the balls? Corbin's always like, I'm gonna kick you in the nuts. Or is it like one of those things where as a kid, you just say stuff without knowing what it means? Or without really meaning it just because you heard it somewhere? There's screaming and cheering and programs at the ready.
You ready, Tweak? Ready, Craig? Let's get it on. Respect my authority.
And they start to pummel each other. Unfortunately, neither of them win because Mr. Adler puts a stop to it. So I guess we'll have to declare this a tie. But honestly, Craig seemed like he had the upper hand because he had discipline. They end up at the hospital where the truth comes out.
To see who was the toughest. We made up all that stuff we said to get you guys mad at each other. Yes, you can flip us off, Craig. We deserve that. We just came by to apologize. We feel so bad.
You deserve more than getting flipped off. But the one fight I wish we did see, Tweak's parents versus Craig's parents, as described by the boys.
Oh, you didn't see it? Tweak's family was on the news saying what a wuss you are, Craig. Huh? Yeah, and then Craig's family came on and said Tweak was the wuss, and then punched Tweak's mom in the hooters.
But kinda like Timmy and Jimmy, it seems like the pair made up their differences and became friends. I think it helps they had something in common. They could bond over the experience. Typically, in episodes afterwards, they're seen with a group of boys known as Craig's gang, which includes them, Token, Clyde, and sometimes Butters. In the earlier seasons, they would act as rivals to the boys, like when Clyde started a counter news station. But most of the time, they're just separate cliques that typically have gender alliances. And I think before we get to Tweak x Craig, we should talk about shipping again, just to remind you and to get some points out of the way. See, Tweak x Craig was inspired by the crack pairing of Tweak x Craig. It's not like Closure, where they just pick two characters at random. Apparently, a lot of people in the fandom really do ship Tweak and Craig, and the episode in question is meant to show that while shipping is fun with shows, it's not something you do in real life, and for good reason. And heck, it has real-life consequences if you just go beyond joking, like, haha, they work so well together, I would think. See, a problem many people have with Tweak and Craig is, as a couple, they're pretty problematic, as it's just two kids forced to date. But I'd kind of argue, guys, that's the point. Even if I don't condone it, the point of the episode was that the townsfolk aren't trying to support two kids stuck in the closet, like in Love, Simon. It's just them trying to look good.
Wow. Our town has only had a Whole Foods for 3 weeks and we already have our first gay kids. So cool.
So, let's discuss. Tweak x Craig premiered during season 19, where the town was shamed by people like Jimmy Fallon and PC Principal into being politically correct and progressive, even if I would argue South Park is already kinda progressive, but I digress. A group of Asian girls are making fan art of Tweak and Craig called Yaoi, aka fan art of gay relationships, often between men. Well, always between men, because it's also called boys love, or BL, which, like many things South Park makes fun of, is a real thing, and all of the art featured came from real fans.
Is a blend of emotion and beauty, involving two people whose love is looked down upon. The art tries to show that all love is magical.
Like, if you didn't get your fan art featured, you were told, sorry, you were too subtle. Their latest subject is Tweak and Craig, for reasons. But it gets to be so notable that PC Principal and Wendy call an assembly, that rhymes, rather than just talk to the girls directly, like, girls, we appreciate you want to be artistic, but it's kind of bringing unnecessary attention to these two boys and it's causing a distraction. Instead, they decide to hold a school-wide assembly to bring awareness to the issue and inform the students. The outcome is that it gets the student body to start thinking of the idea that Tweak and Craig belong together.
Dude, what the f?
And the pair go to the Asian girls and demand to know why they're doing what they're doing, which again, they're doing for reasons.
Excuse me, why are you doing this?
Oh, hi, Craig. 오늘 다른 셔츠 입었네.
What? What did she say?
I don't know, that was Korean. I'm Japanese.
No, outside what I just said, my only problem is I wish they said why the girls were making yaoi of them, because we never get a straightforward answer. I feel it would help clear up a lot of problems, like maybe they just draw them because they're bored. Or it would be ironic since people like Randy and Cartman think the Asian girls decide on couples, like Cupid.
The Asians decide who's going to be gay? Yeah, they do. The Asians just... they just pick who they pick, and so it's the way it's always been.
Which might sound weird, but it kind of reminds me of the matchmaker from Mulan. Oh my god, imagine her as a fangirl. And imagine how shocked they would be when they find out that said girls are just bored as hell, and they don't really mean anything by it. Or they find Tweek and Craig to be muses, and nothing more. See, later episodes kind of imply that Tweek and Craig were gay from the start, or at least had some feelings, without the townspeople forcing it on them. During the initial airing, they seemed to be going down the route that Tweek and Craig only got together and stayed together because of public pressure, but later episodes have them be such a genuinely loving couple that most fans interpret the ending of the episode as them finally realizing, oh, maybe we really do like each other. It was part of why it took me so long to review and analyze the pair, since how do I define their relationship? What interpretation do I use? Especially since South Park is known for retconning stuff all the time. Well, I feel like both interpretations do suck, so pick your poison. If Tweek and Craig weren't gay and just stayed together because they felt like they had to, they basically got gaslit into thinking they're a loving couple. Like they were playing a role and they got too lost in the role. If they were gay, but just didn't understand those feelings, well, the whole community forced two gay kids out of the closet, which should have been their own choice if that's what they wanted to do, just so they themselves could feel good. I guess with the last point, I prefer this interpretation, even if I guess it sucks a little more, because of the later scene with Craig and his dad. Like, it's kind of heartwarming, I guess you could say, in a really weird way, and that rhymes. But we'll get there when we get there. Tweek and Craig are called into PC Principal's office for the crime of liking boys, in a non-perverted kind of way. This is PC Principal, so their punishment is a lecture on affirmative consent, or always asking questions when you do anything with your partner in order to establish boundaries, and see what they're comfortable with.
If there is a romantic relationship here, you have to make sure your partner is comfortable with any exploration. Now in a gay relationship, it gets a little trickier, but you still have to follow some guidelines, alright?
But I'm not gay.
I don't care about that, bro!
Which honestly, if they were actually gay, since I tend to flip-flop when I watch this episode, I think this would be good advice. Just saying, everybody has a different definition of consent, and the overall definition changes all the time. So it's good to know all that. But they're not in a relationship or wanting to. You're just wasting time.
That is completely irrelevant.
You're as irrelevant as a Radio Shack. But I want to point out this line from Tweek.
Everyone thinks I'm gay! What if my parents find out? Ah!
Yeah, I don't like that, as in I don't like them making a big deal about it because that's a good point. One reason a lot of people are afraid to come out is because of the fear of how their families are going to react. Like if I admit to this part of myself, are they gonna throw me out on the street? Which has happened, and Tweek's fear is pretty valid considering how his parents can be. Remember, they give their own son coffee laced with meth.
Tweek's out of coffee, honey.
Oh, here you go, kiddo.
Like, yeah, later, when they find out, they're pretty happy about it, and super condescending, but keep in mind that at this point, Tweek had no clue he was gay, or repressing anything. Imagine having your entire life destroyed because of a rumor that isn't even true. Anyhow, the townsfolk hear about Tweek and Craig, and they decide to be supportive. Because a gay couple, well, that is so progressive. The idea of their being together via choice being irrelevant, even though choice is a big part of, like, being progressive, as is consent. But really, that's all it boils down to. Like, when Tweek comes out to his parents, which is just them saying, yo son, we heard you're gay, they try to be supportive by calling him a spaz. Like, dude, you can't say that. That's a slur in the UK. Oh crud, I said it. On the bright side, at least they get money for their troubles, like whenever something happens. Lucky. Like when Tweek and Craig get into a fight, the school just considers it a lover's quarrel because they're a couple.
There's not going to be any disciplinary action since they are gay. We want to be supportive, so we're just going to send them on home with some money, alright? Alright, you have a nice day.
Whereas if this were Stan and Wendy, for instance, because they're straight, they would get the tension, which gives me questions as to why they're fighting all of a sudden. But my most educated guess is they're just angry they're still getting all of this fan art just because they're near each other.
You're the one with the problem! I told you to stay 100 yards from me! You better not push me again, man!
Oh god, you guys, get a room.
Again, that's why shipping happens. You put two characters, like, in a crowd, even if they personally never met, and you have a ship. See, kids, this is why you don't ship real people besides celebrities you'll likely never see or meet in real life outside of a con or stage door. However, there's a fly in the soup.
What about Craig?
Thomas! I'm so glad that Craig is finally happy. Hey, it's Craig's dad, everybody!
Thomas Tucker isn't a big fan of this relationship, not because he knows Craig isn't in it by choice, but because he doesn't accept the idea of Craig being gay.
What did I do wrong, huh? Everyone's so damn happy, but why did this have to happen to my son? What did I do to make my son like this?
I hate these types of stories, because whenever, like, we get a coming out story, it's always the father that hates it. Always, without fail. It'll go like this. Child comes out, parents don't like it, but mom comes around first, and then dad a little later. Like, at least you're my son. Hey, give Big Mouth this. When Matthew came out, it was his mother that had the problem. His dad did not care in the slightest. However, Craig can't take it anymore, and he goes to Tweek's house to tell him about a plan. But first, he has to put up with his supportive parents.
Tweek's just up in his room playing. You can go on up. Oh, but keep the door open, alright? They're so gay.
Imagine if they were straight. Craig tells Tweek that they can get out of this by staging a breakup. That way, they can go back to the way things were.
Wait, because if we're gay, then we can break up. And if we break up, no more pictures. We just have to stage a fake breakup in front of the Asian girls.
Tweek is apprehensive, but Craig gives him a little encouragement.
Oh, you can do it, Tweek. You're capable of more than you think. I'm a terrible actor. You just follow my lead and try and make it believable, okay?
Craig, are you flirting? The quote-unquote breakup happens, and it goes pretty well. Too well, I might add. Tweek starts to improv and actually makes Craig seem like an a-hole cheater.
Uh-huh. And who the hell is Michael? Huh? You want to tell me that? I saw your text to Michael about hooking up with him! Wait, that's not what happened.
And while I can't play all of the speech because there's some copyrighted music at the end of it, I like how when Tweek walks away, he starts out all upset and then he just, like when nobody's looking, he's like, yay, I did it. Like, it's so cute. But while the community is devastated that they broke up, I mean, they're children, no offense. You don't always stick with your first relationship. Your first love isn't always your last love. Like, you would think these two kids died in a fiery explosion or something. Well, Thomas is actually super thrilled. Like even Mare McDaniels, it makes her feel better because she apparently had a love of her own. True, Thomas is going through an arc of sorts and he doesn't know how to deal with his son, but Thomas, I kind of want to focus on him. I feel like the townsfolk, by trying to make it better, are just making it worse, especially Randy. See, Thomas thinks that being gay is a choice, which obviously it's not, and Randy tries to help him by saying that's not true, by explaining his side of things. Only this is Randy.
You know, a lot of people think that Asians decide who's gay and who's not. But it isn't all Asians, it's just specifically the Japanese, okay?
What?
It's like Thomas is trying at times and he wants to get better, but he's surrounded by idiots, and it's making him color his perception in a negative way. It's like they're saying, oh, your son doesn't really mean this or feel this, he's just crazy. And how would you feel if that were you? But like before, one boy goes to the other's house, that being Tweek going to Craig's house. It's only really fair.
You made me believe in myself in a way I never have before. I didn't think I had any of that in me, but you were right. I can do more than I think.
Tweek, are you flirting? Tweek says they should just tell people that they're back together, which Craig won't do, and for good reason.
Saying I step on people and use them, and I'll just take you back? You said to make it seem real. Not that real. Now everyone thinks I'm a manipulative cheater. I'll never get any chicks.
Well, I mean, I think they still think you're gay. Like, I'm not trying to do any kind of erasure, but I could totally see the town being that close-minded, that it doesn't even cross their minds. You know, despite how progressive they keep trying to act.
Ow. I can't be something because everyone wants me to be. I have to be myself.
You'll just have to go be gay with someone else.
Thomas spots the conversation outside and decides, you know what, he's gonna support Craig. And he goes up to his room and gives his son a speech about accepting yourself.
I do know that if you try and resist it, you make yourself miserable your whole life. Everyone was so proud of you. I was just being selfish.
Now, this is why I'm more comfortable with the retcon idea, because I really do like what Thomas says. If with this interpretation, maybe Craig really was in the closet until he got forced out. But feeling like he was forced out made him rebel harder and harder and deny that part of himself, because he didn't want to give those people the satisfaction. Whereas with Tweak, he was a little nervous, but hey, his parents had no problem with it, and it took encouragement for him to admit it. Encouragement from somebody he loved. As for Craig, well, I guess something similar did happen. It wasn't until his father, who he's closest to, said, be whatever you want to be and I'll support you, that he took that leap. And plus, he doesn't even tell his father like what's really happening, so yeah, that's kind of why I like the retcon. Plus, maybe getting $100 for just being gay really helped. Ooh, imagine all the french fries he could buy. The next day, Tweak and Craig are walking when Craig approaches Tweak and offers him his hand, and Tweak gladly takes it. Craig is back together, the townspeople are satisfied, Cartman and Randy learned about gay people, and harmony is restored. And here's a lesson to all of my viewers. We must treat Tweak and Craig with the highest honor. Gambaro Irishay. But I don't think this was Craig giving the people what they want, as they do eventually get together for real. We see them act like a real couple in later episodes, like with pet names and the like, and they even do it when people aren't watching, when they really could just be like, oh, that was so exhausting. Okay, the question now becomes, is this pairing problematic? And I'd argue in a way, yeah. Since they only got together because they were forced to. But I'd also argue that's part of the point, guys. South Park isn't the type of show you take relationship advice from. Unless it's Cartman and Heidi, and what not to do. A big point of Tweak x Craig, you know, because they're making fun of shipping, is that even if Tweak and Craig both admitted they had feelings, or they did in later episodes, how they got together was super unfair. But since it's Pride Month, you have to wonder, since it's problematic, is it bad rep? Well, no, at least for me. I like them both as characters, and honestly, South Park goes above and beyond, but they do have good queer rep. It's the trans rep they struggle with. We have Mr. Slave, Big Gay Gal, Follow That Egg, the F Word, so many wonderful moments. Plus they're both kind of funny. Alright, Catherine, how did I do? I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. I was getting some gas ready. Aww, I thought I really did good this time. I guess, anyhow, bye!